I've been playing with this a little bit, and I got a few things cut. I actually cut into my board a little bit when I was doing my testing. I did an STL, St. Louis Cardinals logo started out. It did okay. It actually kept a very clean, crisp cut as it went across, and I drove right into my board here a little bit. But this is just my waste board, so it's all okay, sort of. I was going to use this waste board as a flip over, so I don't think it will affect that. I can drill all my holes in here, put my nuts in, and then flip it over and surface it. So I think we're all okay with that. This won't affect too much. But when I was doing it, I noticed that this router on here is not what we'll call square at all. Maybe from this side it'd be easier to see the camera. I've zoomed in. My zoom is not great. Let me see if you guys can see that. So probably you can see the light as I pass through there. Down here we have touching, but up here we have an 1/8 inch, just in that short span. So that's a big, basically it's like tilted to the side really bad, this way. Well, I also checked this way, and it is, this part is back about an 1/8 inch from the top, from just there to there. So I have no play, and I really don't think that this is what I need to be moving in and out, because then I have to take the whole frame and adjust it. And if I look at the frame, although it's a very sharp span, it's not really off that much. It is off a hair from the table. But the table could vary from front to back as well. So the question is this square to these? And I think it is. So I think my table might be off, and when I surface my table, that's pretty square. When I look at, can you see it far over? No. So I'm squaring off of this bar here to this bar here. And when I do that, it's really square to the bar. So I don't want to change this bar to this bar. But what I need to be able to change is how this and this attach to each other. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and square this face up with this face. And that all comes into play with these 4 wheel mounts here. I honestly believe if I add another couple washers down here in the bottom half of this, because they're so close together, if I add one more washer here, it will actually pull this out enough to make that an 1/8 inch. So that's what I'm going to start with, is add one additional washer to the bottom. And I noticed that my threaded rod, my Acme threaded rod, is closer here, no, I'm sorry, it's closer at the bottom than it is at the top, so that extra washer will actually kick that out as well, which is good, because I was rubbing a little bit up here at the top, and I think that's because I have it pushed back in the bottom more. So I'm going to go ahead and add that extra washer and try and adjust that way. That's a one-time change. But this up here in the front, I need to be able to adjust this in this fashion, you know, so I can do this and lock it in. And I 3D printed this piece, and I think it 3D printed cocked to the side a little bit. So I'm going to re-3D print it on another printer. I have 2 printers. One might be off a little bit as it climbs up the Z-axis. The other one's pretty accurate. I already tested. Look at you. You're curious, aren't you? So let's let her get out of the way. Come on. Let's go. I can't see this if you're in the way. There you go. I'm going to 3D print this again, and this time I'm going to print it with 3 holes in the front, so that when I pull the router out, which I can, but I had to undo some bolts to pull it out on the side here, loosen these up. But then I still can't get to these bolts inside here, so I'm going to leave 3 holes in the front so I can get my Allen key all the way in here and adjust this. And in the back here, there are 6 holes holding this on. And I'm going to actually print those holes as slots instead of perfect holes, because right now they're the exact size hole of the 5mm bolts. So I'm going to print them as 5mm top to bottom, and left to right I'll make them 10mm, so they're an oval, so that I can kind of give this a little bit of a twist until I get it where this right here is square with the board. And it's not right now. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm going to 3D print that, take this off, I'm going to pull this metal piece off in the background here and add some more washers. Just to get it all trammed up true. It won't be 100%. That's when you go in and you resurface your board. But the key is that the bit is not running, the bit is, when it's flat, and it's not running at an angle like this, because if it is, you can't ever surface it right. You'll always get a point on the one edge of your bit, and this is an exaggeration of how big a bit is, but if this corner of the bit's down and this one's up, you'll never get a surface that's smooth. So we need to get that bit, the bottom of the bit, flat. That's what we're working on right now. And I need to be able to make this adjustable. That way, if it's not perfect, I can adjust it. I don't know how I can make this front to back adjustable unless I put some kind of, I don't know. I'm going to leave it at just working on this and trying to get this just right before I lock it down. So that's where I'm at. Just wanted to give you an update on what I'm doing. I also need to come up with a way to power this a little better, because now, like I mentioned, I'm powering it from the lights above, and the lights above get flipped off and everything shuts down. So I got to run some power cords better. So I'm going to go ahead and run my 3D print here. Looks like I'm up to temperature now. I'll go ahead and send this over. Should get started, do a homing thing, and then print this piece. And let me show you that piece. So on this screen you can see the piece. I think you can see that. Let me come back and look. Yeah, I'll come in just a little bit. Not sure why that print didn't go. It's still flying in and out, I guess. But I'll try and move around a bit and show you. So this, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. But if I move like this, you can see this is that piece on the thing. I added these 3 holes, or 6 holes, I'm sorry, right here. And on these holes in the back, I made them oval, as I mentioned, to try and help with, there we go. The back holes are now oval. Yeah, now you can see it, kind of. And the front holes are there, so I can drive my screwdriver through the front of it, whereas before I had no front holes. So, redoing this right now. There we go. It's running a homing cycle right now. And then it should go over and start printing. So I don't have, sometimes I print with tape and sometimes I print without tape. If I want to stick real good, I use tape. And if I'm not as concerned about it, I don't use tape. And it looks like, there it goes. So it holds really good to this Teflon or PET something, if it gets a good grip in the starting point. And that's why I got to watch that first layer always, to see if it gets that good grip. Because once it gets a good grip on the starting point, it does really good. Looks good. $453 minutes. About 7.5 hours from now, we should be done. Seems like a long time to print something, but I did print this at 100% infill. Because it's such a structural piece and it has a lot of torque on it, I didn't want it to break. There's not a lot of large space there for anything to break, so the infill wouldn't have been that much except for in this back section here. The rest of it would have filled in anyway. if I had done 4 walls. I think it's on its 4th pass now, and there's nothing much in between there. So it could have zigzagged, but we're going to try 100% infill and see how it looks.